Welcome to this edition of Vantage Point. I am pleased to have with me as my guest the Reverend Dr. Claire Bamberg, who is the pastor of the Congregational Church in Plainville. Welcome, Claire.
Thank you.
Glad you're here.
I'm glad to be here.
So you know that our vision for the Connecticut Conference is one which is about the spirit of interdependence, about how we are connected to one another. And it's my understanding that you've recently returned from a great gathering, the Festival of Homiletics, which is an ecumenical gathering of pastors who go to hear great preaching. And I know you're excited about your experience there. So why don't you tell us about the festival and what you heard about interdependence there?
Well, I think one of the things that was interesting to me is the different viewpoints on interdependence. So whether it was John Philip Newell talking about praying at the nunnery on Iona, or the roofless chapel in Indiana, and the feeling of being in the womb or the center of spirit in that way that connects us all. Or Brian McLaren talking about the need for us as we move forward to marry with people who are opposite from us in order for our best to come out. And then being with a colleague at dinner and having the two of them sit at the table next to us and hear them talking about Paul Tillich. And my kind of going, what? And then realizing, of course, the ground of being is everything that connects us, whether it's a chapel at Iona or, somebody of completely different theological perspective in conversation with somebody, that it's all interdependence. And that the point is to connect and be ourselves in a way that creates a space for growth, and then to move into that growth together from those perspectives.
So I'm intrigued by McLaren's point about being in community with people that you may not agree with. Can you say a little bit more about what he said about that? Because that's not like natural, right? To want to hang out with people that speak differently or think differently than we do.
Right. So basically what he's saying is don't be afraid of that. That it's a developmental phase in growth that both deepens and broadens us. So he talked about, he used the analogy for marriage. You know, many of us end up, no matter how we're attracted, and this is the marriage and family therapist talking now, right? So you're marrying somebody you think you're going to be completely in tune with, and everything's going to be beautiful, a la Disney. And what you find out is you've actually married somebody who's quite different than you. Right. And if you can stay the course and work at it, you grow. And then what you grow is together on the same path, but not alike necessarily. It's that creative tension that keeps us growing and keeps the vitality there, and the opportunity for conversation. So he used the analogy of marriage. He did a wonderful job of unpacking all that. And as you're listening to him, it may not be that you have the word interdependence going through your head, but it is what's happening as he's talking.
Right.
They are the principles about which these people are speaking.
Yes.
Whether it's John Philip Newell or Brian McLaren or Walter Brueggemann or Diana Butler Bass, or there was a new guy there that I heard this time that was really compelling named Luke Powery. And he, in the middle of his preaching, broke into song and did a lot of illustration based on hymns and spirituals.
Nice.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if our preachers now are going to just break out in song.
I hope
do
so.
in the middle. Some do in the middle
may.
of preaching. I've heard that happen before.
They may.
I'll resist that temptation myself. I know that you're working with the Center for Progressive Renewal in a new capacity for that particular initiative, which is part of the United Church of Christ, and we help fund the work and ministry there. Could you say a little bit about your work with the center and exciting work that you're doing now?
Sure. So in early March, I accepted an invitation to be their National Director of Coaching. And what it means is that I help the coaching initiative become a fabric. That's my goal. My goal and vision is to help coaching become the fabric of community life in our churches. So whether you use coaching techniques for preaching, leadership development, supervision, whatever it is, that there is a spirit and commitment to empowerment of the best in the other.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that I didn't say earlier about the Festival of Homiletics is that Carrie Newcomer was there.
Yes.
And
Great
Carrie,
voice, great lyrics.
well,
too.
Carrie lived down the road from me in Indiana,
Mm-hmm.
in Bloomington.
Mm-hmm.
And we've walked the same creeks. And one of the illustrations she used was a geode. Do you know what a geode
Yeah,
is?
yeah.
Ugly rock.
Yes.
Ugly, ugly. When you break it open, inside are all these beautiful
Gorgeous
crystals.
yes.
And she talked about the center of the geode being like the miracle that's in all of us.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
And when I'm using coaching techniques, that's what I'm aiming for. Whatever the resistance is, whatever the ugly outside is, the obstacles that somebody's running into, that we would open it up over the course of a series of sessions, and inside would be beauty in them and for the community they're serving. So what I get to do with the Center for Progressive Renewal is take all these wonderful coaches from all over the country and different denominations.
Yes.
So what I said at the festival was, we are UCC funded and identified, we are not UCC focused.
Right, right.
And help people begin to discover within their communities of faith, through whatever transitions, so many transitions that people go through, that beauty, that Spirit of God in the center of whatever the obstacle is. So it's my honor and privilege to be able to work with all these people and get to know these communities of faith. So far, I'm working with churches in Alabama, Massachusetts, Vermont, Maine, Rhode Island, Connecticut. I mean, it's, and of course, serving the church in Plainville.
Right, right. Multifaceted, lots of things happening. Could you share a little bit about CPR's NCLI, the National Church Leadership Institute, coming up this August, I believe, in Boston? I'm planning on being there. I'm excited by the kind of approach to the conversation, looking at some trends that are emerging in our culture and how we as leaders might adapt to those trends or live with those or respond to those trends. Could you say something about that gathering?
I'd love to.
Yeah.
So the National Church Leadership Institute is, as I was, again, I sat at the table at the Festival of Homiletics, so I answered a lot of questions. And what I found myself saying was, CPR is a research and development think tank. The developments in progressive trends in this climate, in our climate right now, because that's our future. And so what I said to people is, you come to NCLI and you have an opportunity not only to cognitively explore those trends, but to immerse yourself in the spirit of progressive renewal. So we will have speakers, we will have opportunities for breakouts. I don't know if people have seen, but the NCLI ads right now are, if you register by Friday, 11:59, you get to have coffee with. And it's been John Dorauer, Diana Bettler-Bass, Jackie Lewis now
Lewis,
is this
in
week.
Marble Collegiate.
Right,
Yep.
is this week. Who knows who's coming up? The 10th is intensives. So that'll be an opportunity to immerse for 3 hours.
This is August 10th.
August
Yes.
10th.
Yeah.
And then the 11th through the 13th are 1 hour snippets. And the other thing that CPR has done this year is created a VBS for ministers. So coming up in June, there'll be an opportunity in one 4-day period to take 8 courses, 8 one-hour courses spread out over those days. Look on our website because it's
Great.
there.
Wonderful.
So NCLI is an opportunity to immerse in progressive renewal, progressive thought, trends, speakers, and to be totally immersed in that.
Yes.
So, and have an opportunity to share that with others. We're hoping most of New England will come.
Great. Great. Well, it is close for us. Typically has been held in Atlanta, so I'm hoping that lots of clergy leaders and lay leaders of our churches will take advantage of it being in our own backyard August 10th through 14th. And what's the website address again?
www.progressiverenewal.org.
Great. Wonderful. Well, I want to thank you, Claire, for being with us today on this edition of Vantage Point. We give thanks for your leadership and your ministry in the Connecticut Conference. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
So we thank you for joining us for this edition of Vantage Point. We are here in our leadership studio. We give thanks for your support of the leadership studio. It is still being transformed. Perhaps by the next edition of Vantage Point, we will have some of our construction completed and we'll show you around. Thanks for joining us. Okay.
Put that in the
ready?
B-roll.
Okay.